The Green Party announced their candidate for the Gorton and Denton by-election, local plumber and councillor Hannah Spencer, who lives in Greater Manchester, was revealed to be the candidate earlier today. This is Spencer back in September of last year with a really good message on patriotism.
So these flags, I'll say this, that took effort. Those flags go for miles. They're all evenly spaced. They're all the same height. And I know from working up a ladder, like fitting gutters and boiler flues and whatnot, like that is not easy. And so if you're using your time and your tools and your practical skills because you want your country back, please come and join the rest of us who are actually trying to get our country back. Come and volunteer at our monthly clean-ups. Come and join the gardening group. Come and fix the broken fencing that needs repairing. Come to the community arts centre that helps so many people but that always needs volunteers. Like, come and do all of those things that will actually get our country back. Because if you've got the time, the tools and the skills, and at the moment you're just putting flags up, please give your head a little wobble and then come and join the rest of us who are actually trying to get our country back.
I love that video. I mean, it speaks to the patriotism, but also it's just down to earth. She seems like a very normal person. That is what a normal person would do. So I love that. And now the breakdown of the results show a clear win for Spencer. So as you can see, Spencer won with 457 votes, which is 78.1% to Faisal Raza Khan, who won 65 votes, and Sarah Wakefield with 63 votes. Now, despite the unveiling of the candidate that was supposed to be this morning, it seems Hannah Spencer winning the vote was leaked last night. Gorton and Denton, Hannah Spencer picked as Green candidate. That's by Tomorrow's MPs, and the account is run by Michael Crick. And I think it was him who leaked the information because all those who reported on it cited Crick as the source. I guess he didn't really leak it. He's the journalist, but he didn't wait for an embargo. Now, we at Turn Left knew about the results last night, but we respected the embargo and opted to not reveal the candidate despite it being leaked. Now, our very own Callum Taylor was there at the event and asked both Hannah and Zach a question at the Q&A panel.
In an unusual move, before I take a question, it's not me buttering you up, please give love to independent media. This is Turn Left, who run a brilliant YouTube channel every single night doing live news broadcasts. Callum, be nice now. So,
thank you very much.
Joking, ask what you want.
Callum Taylor, Turn Left Media. I have two questions, if I may, one for Zach and one for Hannah. For Zach, the Green Party came third here in 2024 with 13.2% of the vote. Since your leadership of the party, obviously popularity for Greens has grown exponentially. How do you plan to reach out to the diverse communities within Gorton and Denton and encourage more people to vote Green? And for Hannah, a report last year found that Gorton was one of the areas, well, actually the area with the highest levels of fuel poverty in the northwest, with local rates in the area at 23.7%. If elected, what would you do to help locals get out of fuel poverty across the constituency?
Thank you. So there's a couple of things I'd answer, first of all. So where we won MPs at the last general election, some of those came from third and indeed fourth place. So we know exactly how to get that kind of level of success. Having said that, for all my fighting talk today, there's not a shred of complacency. I know Hannah and, in fact, the entire team, in fact, the whole Green Party, are going to be working incredibly hard to not take one vote for granted. We're going to be having conversations. Now, whether that's with diverse communities or whatever the community might be, we know inequality hits you wherever you are. So many people right now feel like they're running just to keep up. They know that their rent bills are going up, water bills are going up, energy bills are going up. These issues affect every single community. So we're going to have a relentless focus on inequality, the cost of living, and everything that Hannah just spoke about. It's also true there are issues around the world that we care about as well, and we're not going to be shy to talk about justice. We can do more than one thing at once. In fact, we must do more than one thing at once. And we'll absolutely have a campaign that, yes, focuses on international justice, but puts inequality, particularly for the people of Gorton and Denton, at the heart of it.
Thank you for the question. So I think fuel poverty is what comes from not having people from different trades and occupations in the rooms where decisions are being made, because plumbers like me will have been saying for decades that we have the leakiest homes in Europe. When you're fitting a central heating system, whatever the heating source, and you know that half of that is going out of the house, those skilled and experienced people will have been able to advise for years about what measures need to be taken. But the problem is, politics has not been accessible to people, and this is what we're going to change, and that is how we're going to change it, so that fuel poverty no longer becomes something that we talk about.
Just brilliant stuff. And I just want to say, we need to give a hand to Callum Taylor, our reporter, going to the event, documenting the event, getting, well, 2 questions in. And I have to say, we are a voluntary organisation, right? We didn't get funding, and yet that was our first ever like press Q&A. So that's a win cow, as one of our chats says. Now, this is Hannah Spencer giving us an exclusive interview.
How does it feel being the candidate that's been selected to represent the Green Party in this by-election?
It feels incredible. We have a system where local members decide who our candidate is, and to get the backing of so many people here, I'm so honoured and I'm so proud.
And you were asked earlier about how you're going to represent white working class people in the constituency. Just tell us briefly a little bit about how you plan to do that.
I plan to speak up for the people that I live alongside, the people that I work with, my colleagues, my friends, who I have conversations with about all sorts of different things. And I think I'm going to push back on this idea that we're easy pickings, that we're ripe for reform, that we're just going to act and think a certain way just because they've decided that that's what they want. We can challenge that, and we will absolutely show that the white working class communities in this city region are caring, are kind, and we look out for our neighbours from whichever background they're from.
Perfect. And obviously you know this area quite well. What are you most looking forward to about potentially representing this area in Parliament?
I think one of the biggest things is because of how diverse this community is. I know when I lived certainly in Levenshulme, like that is somewhere that over many decades has had immigration that has changed over the years, and you still see it in the roots of those places where you go. And I think I would feel such pride knowing that I'm able to represent that kind of community across the whole constituency at Parliament.
And finally, to people that are worried about splitting the vote between the Greens and Labour, what would you say to encourage them that that's rubbish?
I think we've just been told, and I did this for so many years, tactical vote this way to keep them out, now it's vote that way to keep them out, and it's just absolute nonsense. We need to vote with our guts, and that is the only way that we'll get Greens into Parliament.
Wonderful. Hannah, congratulations and thanks again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I like her line there where she says, vote with your guts, because you often hear vote with your hearts, but vote with your guts is, it feels a bit more of an emergency, or more of an action phrase. So I really, really enjoyed that. Now, this is also Caroline's... start that again. Callum Taylor also spoke to Caroline Lucas on Hannah winning the selection.
I'm here in Denton, which is part of the Gorton and Denton constituency, to show my support for our amazing candidate just announced this morning, Hannah Spencer, and really just to get out on the doorsteps and bring that message of hope, which is at the heart of what the Green Party is bringing here today. We've been speaking to some people outside Morrison's, and actually there's real interest in the Green Party and a real sense that people want to vote for something different. And I think that we can persuade people that the Green Party is the party that really understands their concerns, for example, about the cost of living, their concerns about the need for rent controls, their concerns about a Labour government that seems to be cozying up to an Israeli government that is absolutely, pursuing a policy of genocide in Gaza. So there are a lot of issues that people have a lot of sympathy with our policies for, and the feeling on the ground is very, very positive.
How important do you think it is that we have a candidate in Hannah who is local, she's from the area, she grew up around here, she regularly walks the greyhounds in this constituency, she's a plumber, she's a working class lass. How important do you think that is both for the Green Party but also for this constituency?
I think it is hugely important that we have the wonderful Hannah as our candidate. As you say, she is someone who is very down to earth. She is understanding real people's concerns. She's absolutely alongside them, working alongside them and living alongside them and loving this, which has been her home all her life. And I think if you compare that to the kind of Renton extremist who's coming in from Reform UK, not local to the constituency, probably frankly rather more interested in his own career than he is about the people of Gorton and Denton. So people have a real choice here, and we're framing that choice very starkly. It is between the politics of hope or the politics of hate, and we're very clear that the people of Gorton and Denton deserve the very best, the politics of hope, and that is embodied by Hannah.
Well, Caroline Lucas, thank you very much
Thank you
for
so
your
much.
time.
Thank you.
We also caught up with Green Party leader Zach Polanski.
I'm absolutely delighted to have Hannah as a candidate, particularly because she's just walked in through the door, just over your shoulder. Hannah is someone who I've known for a long time, who is dedicated, caring. She's also bloody funny, and I think that really matters, actually, that she can take an attack, and I think we will see this over and over again, and just turn it on itself. And I think if Reform try and come for her, they're going to be really sorry that they tried. I also think the story is phenomenal because it's also true. The fact that Reform have picked someone who is a pundit for a right-wing news channel who stirs division and hate, and we, in a genuinely democratic process, have gone for the local plumber who's training to be a plasterer, who had to ask her teacher today if she could have the day off. I mean, that's the kind of history books are written in that way. Now, if that was just a superficial story, that would be amazing in itself, but it wouldn't have a depth to it. But there's a real depth to Hannah. She really, really cares. She is ready to fight injustice. She's been doing it every single day. And actually, I couldn't be prouder. I just can't wait to get out there with her campaigning.
Some polls have got it looking like a three-way race between the Greens, Labour and Reform. But the Greens have said that they can win it. I think Reform have said they can win it. Labour have said they can win it. What makes the Green Party different in this race?
Well, first of all, Labour have blown it. They've taken people's votes for granted for years, not just in Gorton and Denton, but right across the country. And people are looking for alternatives because they are furious with this Labour government, and they're right to be so. And it's not just me saying that. We also have Labour advisors on records to journalists saying they've blown it. So it's a little bit odd for them to try and get back into the race after they said, you know, it's not there. So it is between the Reform Party and the Green Party. And I think the first thing is we need to stop Reform. That is number one priority. This is a party that are deeply divisive, that are dangerous. We have in Nigel Farage, a man who wants to lick the boots of Donald Trump, who says that he admires Vladimir Putin, and a man who cares less about the 99% and is there to protect the 1%. But we know it's not enough just to criticise Reform as tempting as it is. You have to be propositional. And the good news is the Green Party have a whole host of policies that I think will change Britain. So from lowering people's bills, from things like rent controls, from ending shareholder profits in water companies by nationalisation, from making sure that we're investing in our public services, through a fair taxation system, so making sure we're taxing multimillionaires and billionaires and bringing capital gains tax in line with income tax. Another way of saying that is to make work pay and to tax wealth properly and to have a different conversation about the economy. I'm absolutely convinced these are all the ways we're going to make hope normal again. And if you ask me to summon up someone who was going to do that brilliantly, you could do a lot worse than Hannah Spencer.
You've obviously known Hannah for a while now, both professionally and personally as a friend as well. What's her biggest strength that she's going to bring to this race?
Actually, her sense of humour, which sounds like an unusual attribute. There's loads of other things. She's really, really smart and she speaks brilliantly. But actually, I think humour is so lacking in politics. Let me qualify that. Humour is all over politics, but actually we're often laughing at them. And when politicians make jokes, they're really badly delivered. They're a bit snidey and they're not actually kind of funny or witty. She is witty, she is smart, and she is kind. And that's a powerful combination.
Zach, thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Licking the boots of the billionaires, or Donald Trump, the 99% versus the 1%. These are key messaging that the left is usually quite good at, and I'm glad to see a political leader doing this. That's what we need to do. You know, stop being so nice. It's true. You know, Reform, Trump, or Reform, Matt Goodwin, whoever, they're all bootlickers for the billionaire class, and Donald Trump. It's pathetic stuff. So I'm liking what I'm hearing there. Now, it's clear that the race is between the Greens, Reform and Labour, with the Greens pushing the idea that it's between the Green Party and Reform. Hannah Spencer will go up against author, academic and GB News host Matt Goodwin. A couple of days ago, Find Out Now released a poll putting Reform way ahead with the Greens as a distant third. Now, there's a big problem with this poll. So you can see Reform 30%, Labour 27%, Greens 17%. Looks like a two-horse race where Greens have got a lot of catch-up, right? But look at the bottom. The sample size is 143. That is a fake poll, right? The standards of a poll is around 1,000. So it's just fake. Now, this poll was then amplified by Labour's Lucy Powell. I think we've got the same graphic up there. Let's go to 2.6. Maybe I've missed that one. I'll read out her tweet. So she says, this is what I've been saying. Only voting Labour defeats reform. A vote for the Greens or any party risks a Reform MP in Manchester. Again, she shared a poll which has 143 participants. This poll even made its way to Newsnight. So Michael Crick says, Newsnight are bonkers to mention an opinion poll in Gorton and Denton with a sample of just 143. 1,000 is the normal, respectable sample size. Nicholas Watt, who was doing the show, said, thanks, Michael. I made clear on Newsnight we were treating the poll with great caution because one, very small sample size, which leads to much higher margin of error, and two, Workers' Party not included, and they got 10% in 2024. I said we were mentioning poll because parties poring over it. I think that's a poor excuse for journalism there. First of all, there is no justification to have this poll. 143 people is not a poll. The idea that parties were poring over it, you had Lucy Powell share it, of course, but it's your journalistic duty to say, well, of course, political parties are going to use this poll if it works in their favour. And you have to say, well, by the way, they're quoting a poll which is 143 people, so shame on them. I mean, you shouldn't include the poll, and it's crazy that you tried to justify it. Now, find out now, the ones who conducted the poll have now apologised. Statements on our Gorton and Denton poll. We apologise for any confusion or misinterpretation caused by the way these results were reported and for any impression that the data was more precise than it could be given the small sample size. Although the poll suggests the race is likely to be close, it should not be analysed beyond that, for example, as indicating that one party is in the lead. We were not involved in how the results were initially reported to the media, although we sought to emphasise the small sample size and high margin of error in our comment to the initial article and on our website. This was not sufficiently reflected in the main coverage. We will take this into account for all future polling, including formalising clearer protocols to determine which results are suitable for public release, namely exercising extreme caution regarding polls with small sample sizes and how they should be presented externally. I mean, you should be making a statement saying, well, we didn't mean for the media to cover it in this particular way. I mean, you put the poll out there. You knew it was a bogus poll. You shouldn't even conducted the poll. If you get less than 800 people, you should not be publishing that. And they did that, and now they're like, we didn't realise that the media would pick up on it. Yes, because this pollster and the mainstream media are complete jokes. They're all jokes. It's ridiculous. Damo, what are your thoughts? Did the local Greens pick the right candidate?
Well, I thought you were going to ask me then about the BBC. That's a rotten shame. Okay, yes, the Green Party candidate, that is the important bit of this story, really, isn't it? I think the first thing I want to say, actually, is it's great that we actually had a contest and not just a coronation. We had 3 people who stood for it, which just goes to show the level of interaction and interest there is in this event in the Green Party, and everybody who was involved should be commended for putting themselves forwards here, because after all, they're all Greens, and, this is what we want to see. If I'd had a vote for myself, yes, I would have backed Hannah Spencer. I always sign my videos off for anybody who watches my channel with a line, holding power to account for ordinary working class people. And Hannah, being a 34-year-old plumber, now training to be a plasterer, she kind of fits that bill for me. So I sincerely hope she wins this now, goes to Parliament in her overalls, frankly. That would shake things up a little bit. I think it's a good sign that the Greens have shifted towards working class interests and working class people now, because so many naysayers are still saying to this day, still dismissing all of us, because I'm a Green as well, that there's still a liberal and a middle class party, and it's less and less true. And this is further evidence of that, I would like to think. It's, she didn't just scrape through, after all, as you showed in the poll there. She won decisively. It tells you the local Green members, they were not conflicted here, they were not divided here. This is kind of the shape of the Green Party in this country now. They looked at the field, overwhelmingly concluded she's the strongest option for this seat at this moment in time. It's exactly what they need. She's local, she's working class, she's already an elected councillor, she's got the campaign experience therefore. So it's exactly what you need in a by-election, where trust and recognition and having some kind of a ground presence really does matter more than ever, especially when Labour are losing ground and Reform are basically saying, we're going to take this and we're going to put up a complete muppet and you're going to vote for him because that's what we believe. We're at a point here where the Greens have now selected Hannah Spencer. I think it's a foregone conclusion Labour are going to end up parachuting in yet another Starmeroid because that's what always happens. And even if they happen to be a local to Manchester, they're always going to be seen as not Andy Burnham at this point. So they've completely shot themselves in the foot. I don't believe this is a 3-horse race for the record. I think it's a 2-horse race. I think Reform going for a hard right, how can I be kind to this? Right-wing mouthpiece, let's just go with that. In Matt Goodwin, who's only linked to the seat, seems to be getting called a wanker in the street. He really shouldn't have a hope in hell, quite frankly. I think, given that first bit of VT that we saw Hannah walking down the street talking about the flags, I think Matt Goodwin will quite happily talk about flags rather than any of the issues that she was asked about in that bit of VT by your roving reporter Callum with the lovely hair. Which whole
shout and loves Callum.
Jealousy. But I want to come on to that poll as well that you've put up. Because this is why I say it's a 2-horse race, because that was put on the back of a poll of 143 people, which is flaming ridiculous. Find Out Now have apologized for it, but frankly, they should have thrown the notion of running such a tiny poll out. If they had any credibility of their own, they should have chucked it out. But they conducted it, and they conducted it on behalf of a company called Better World Limited, which is the company of a Labour donor called Henry Tinsley. So you have a poll being commissioned by a Labour donor, which benefits Labour, you could argue, with a very, very small sample size, and now they've been caught out for it. And yet the BBC were happy to platform that on Newsnight. Frankly, the only thing I've got to say to that is because of course they did. This is the BBC all over. This is where journalism went to die. So you have, what the Greens have done here is they picked the perfect candidate for this moment to put up against a Burke like Matt Goodwin, to put up against whatever empty suit Keir Starmer deems worthy of him to parachute in, and everybody else will be largely making up the numbers. I do think the Greens can do this. And I would love to see Hannah in Parliament, because I think she would shake things up, even amongst the Green representatives there who, you know, for better or worse, whatever you think of the Green MPs we already have, I think she would be a unique figure amongst them, and she would really stand out.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I'm not a Green member, actually. But this particular race, I'm so desperate to see Hannah in there because of working class representation. And you're absolutely right. Like, there has been a sort of view that the Green Party were liberal and middle class, a charge that, you know, you could be correct about maybe 10 years ago. But it's shifting. And I think that local Manchester party proved it.
So they
let you in. They let an assodding socialist.
Yes, I'm a town councillor. They elected me as well. They're mad. But no, it's just what I mean. It's ordinary working class people have found, and socialists even, found a new home. The left has got a new home. And as much as so many people were waiting for the likes of Jeremy Corbyn to get his act together for so many years, never really happened. And when it did happen, look what happened. The Greens have had the momentum with them the whole way. It's not gone away. It's been consistent. The messaging has been consistent. Zach Polanski has been an absolute trailblazer in what a politician actually can do, can say, present themselves. And of course, the only thing they can pick on him about is his teeth. Well, look at mine. I can't say much about that either. I don't know what his reasons are. I was born with a cleft lip and palate. Shit happens, you know. It's not the issue at the end of the day. It's the messaging. You know, the left has got a new home again. We can push these policies. People are enthused. They're engaged once again, as we saw once before, 10 years ago, Corbynism, when it was at its height. We've got another chance, a chance that many of us on the left thought was never going to come when Corbyn was finally toppled. Yet we've got that chance again now. Are we, as a society, going to screw this up again? Because if you want change in this country, for God's sake, you're going to have to shake things up and stop voting the way you've always voted. It ain't going to work. It ain't going to deliver change. Keir Starmer proved that. He said he was change. He's delivered anything but.